We are at it again with another episode of the Gaming Pulpit. Let's begin. So, there was a couple of videos that has come out, right, regarding 4K, and well, regarding next gen actually, and what next gen is going to offer. And there has been a lot of concern, quote unquote, air quotes here, on advances in graphics. A lot of people, because of these mid-generation refresh consoles, believe that PS5 and the new Xbox and things of that, and those games or those consoles won't provide any type of graphical umph, and that they're going to focus on 60 frames per second. And to be perfectly honest with you, I don't think that they're going to. They say that they're going to focus on the frame rate now. You know what I mean? 60 frames per second. But here's what I think is going to happen. Here's my belief, because ultimately it's up to the developers and what they want out of their game. If they want the game to look really, really nice, then they're going to sacrifice frames, because the way that it works is that a console has a finite amount of shapes and pixels that it can push out on the screen. And when you double the frame rate, you essentially increase the workload, by two. So if it was able to draw, and I'm just making like a really crude example here, if it was able to spit out 10 polygons at 30 frames per second, running that shit at 60 frames per second means that it can only spit out half of that rate, because it has half the time to do it. So this is why frame rates have been sacrificed for graphics. You can push more out, probably nearly double the stuff that you can normally would do on these particular consoles, and that's why image quality and frame rate has always been low. But going back on to uh, the task at hand, the subject at hand, there were a lot of people that really believe that this next gen is not going to be that great, even what they think is going to be just frame rates. And me personally, I'm not that crazy with frame rate. I'd rather the game look really nice and you realize what exactly you're trying to do with your graphics and stuff like that. That's what I would prefer personally. So honestly, the more graphics you can pump out, the better. Here's what I think though is going to happen. I mean, the refresh consoles are not going away. So you're going to have a PS5 Pro and an Xbox, X variant that's going to come out later on, because that will definitely absorb a lot of the costs and stuff like that. So what I personally think is going to happen is that the developers are going to give options out the gate. Now developers are going to have these options. They're going to have, okay, like 1080p with 60 frames a second, or you can get all of your bells and whistles, at 30 to appease both people. So I don't really think it's going to be like that, that black and white where you either get a 60 frames per second game or you get a 30 frames per second game. There's going to be options. That's what they're going to do. They're going to start making games with dynamic resolutions as well, personally, so that when you do an actual backwards compatible or emulation, then the hardware can pick up the slack and push out, the graphics. So if it was at a cap of 60 in your hardware, that current hardware can't do it. When they do release variants, the variants will be able to push that further without the developer intervening. And that's what I think they're going to do personally. Um, but it's funny though, because there's a lot of people that honestly are just so concerned about this. You gotta understand that the PS1, or excuse me, the PS4 and the Xbox One has come out in 2013. It is 2018 now. That is 5 years. And these consoles are most likely going to come out in 2020. 2020. There's a lot of room for the graphics to actually be, for you to have a decent graphics card. And most people are like, okay, so on PC, you know, their graphics are usually about, you know, textures or resolutions or frame rates, and they don't really look that much better than the consoles. Well, there's always people, the developers that actually create games on the PC are working at the basically how can I put this? It's the minimum requirement, and then they scale up that way. It's not catered to the strongest graphics card like Crisis was. You got that one game coming out. What is it? Star Citizen. That's the only game which is heavily, excruciatingly expensive. There's that game that's going to come out, but it's a lot of money. The truth of the matter is, console games is where you're going to have to spend, you know, is where the developers are going to spend most of their time and the efforts, and then you can scale up on a PC. But that's like what, fucking 7 years into a new console. Of course, we're going to see, a cool, a cool graphic upgrades. There's a lot of people that just think that, you know, we we had diminishing returns. I don't believe so, because I really didn't feel like the PS3, you know, I thought that the PS3 and what they had to offer, that was it. And then come along, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn, you know, and I'm just like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It was just one of those moments where you're just like, holy shit. But notice, if you keep playing that game from time to time, or if you keep playing that game in particular, you start seeing the seams. You start seeing where the engine could actually be improved. And one of the things that the engine needs to be improved on is level of detail. You know, how it scales from distant objects to close objects. That's where it really needs assistance, because you only have a certain amount of memory, and the memory can only go but so fast, and that's the issue. I'm pretty sure, if you don't know about Horizon Zero Dawn, there's mounts that you can, you know, ride, these horse-looking machines and stuff like that, and that's how you get from point A to B. But you notice that you can't fly in that game. Now, it's not that they couldn't make her fly in that game. The problem is, the biggest problem that I can see is the game can't stream fast enough. And then there's a lot of issues with AI and things like that. And a lot of it is with memory. You know what I mean? You have these huge dinosaurs that can't go into another area because that area has it's eating up a lot of memory. So that's why when you play these games, enemies only stick to one little spot. So memory is going to be a big thing, and obviously CPU power is going to be a big thing as well with next generation. So they said openly that the CPU is going to be something that's going to be worked on, and you got to think about the ramifications of CPUs and what that means. What CPUs, you have a lot of calculations, such as fire, such as smoke, you know, such as how many AI can be displayed, physical destruction, you know, weather systems, and all of that other stuff. All of that shit comes into play when you have a strong CPU, which is funny because that's what Ken Kutaragi, the father of PlayStation, was trying to do with the PS4, and everyone kind of like laughed at him. It's all about GPU power. That CPU was super strong, and it did a lot of things. It was so strong, in fact, that it helped the GPU. And now we're going back full circle with the fucking, you know, the CPU being very important. And this is why I like PlayStation stuff. They're Sony stuff. They're a forward-thinking company most of the time. Sometimes they fuck up, but for the most part, they are a forward-thinking company, and I like that. I really do like that a lot, and I appreciate that, honestly. So yes, are they going to focus on it? Of course they're going to focus on it, but they may have like checkerboard rendering when it comes to 4K. You know, like I say, they're going to give you options. So you either have like all the bells and whistles at 4K native, or you're going to have a dynamic resolution when you want to go to 60 frames a second, or a lower resolution altogether. So they're going to make it very PC-esque, in my opinion. That's what I believe that they're going to do. Actually, I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to do anyway. I really do think that's what's going to happen. Hold on. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that worked. So yeah, I totally think that's how next gen is going to definitely approach things. Not only are you going to have it's funny because I was like reading shit online and people were like, 4K is a fad. Like, what the fuck? I'd rather have my games at 1080p. Shut the fuck up. You're not. No, that's ridiculous. Let's not be ridiculous about this. Like, there's a lot of people talking ridiculous things. I mean, I understand that you want frame rate and shit like that, and just fucking buy a PC. Like, come on. Not everybody wants that shit to hinder their immersion when it comes to graphics. Like, look at it, this Bloodborne right now. Um, I mean, I really do, it looks nice and everything like that, but you know, I kind of wish that you know, they took it further when it comes to simulations and stuff like that. Sometimes you got a lot of frame rate issues as well, but you can only get those crazy graphics if you have like a certain frame rate. That's just how it is. There's no other way of putting it. It's a shame that people really. Anyway, so I think I'm pretty much done. I got that shit out my system. So let's talk about some other things as well. So I'm not gonna go into the shit that I normally get into unless I need to. But just reading some of the stuff that's on here about just some online things. Let me see. Because I had some notes here, and I'm glad you don't see me on camera and shit like that because I'm not prepared. I kind of like not being prepared and just kind of going off the top of my head and stuff like that. So I mean, so far I'm content on what I've been saying before, but there's a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Like, we talked about Star Citizen before, and now I'm hearing that everybody that was working on their, or was giving money to the makers of Star Citizen, that they're not going to get their refunds back at this point in time. I'm hearing that game is in development hell, even though it looks really, really nice. I'm hearing that it's getting fucked up right now. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy there. What else is here? Because this is like a lot of different things that I would like to talk about before this video ends. I had it all here. I should have prepared myself better, shouldn't I? Damn, my fucking voice is cracking and stuff like that. Believe me, I wasn't yelling or anything. But I think I'm gonna go to a little more. There we go. Because I saw it earlier. And there wasn't no like real big news on cross play and stuff like that, which is a good thing. To me, it's really ridiculous. It's really ridiculous with this whole cross play shit. So dumb. But well, Spider-Man's coming out soon. I think September or whatever. So that's definitely good news. I was looking at some of the gameplay on that one, and holy shit, I went to New York maybe about a couple weeks ago, man, and they just completely recreated that whole shit. That is fucking amazing, man. It'd be really fun to kind of like swing around now. I have a friend that's from New York as well. Well, not as well, but he's from New York, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna be ecstatic with playing that shit. So that's pretty cool. Let me just take a look here. I don't know. I'm ready. I'm ready for Spider-Man. I mean, I've been playing the same games over and over again so far, so it'd be fun to play something a little different. I still haven't really played around with what the fuck is it? What I want to say? Detroit Become Human. I still haven't fucked around with that. And it's not that it's a bad game or anything like that. I just kept fucking up really badly with my choices. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to see actually. So apparently this kind of touches up on what I was saying earlier in the video. AMD developers stated that, in order for you to have PS4 like images or graphics, but at 4K, you need about 7.4 teraflops, which, if you don't know, the PS3 is 1.84 teraflops, and they're able to produce shit like, um, The Last of Us Part 2 and Death Stranding and, Ghost of Tsushima and stuff like that, just based off of those things. Yeah, they showed on the Pro, but it's not too much of a difference. And anybody thinks that the Pro and the Xbox One X is being utilized to its fullest, I mean, no, absolutely not. I think they are forbidden to actually use that shit, to be honest with you, to its full potential, because it's going to slide like millions of fucking gamers. You know what I mean? It's going to totally fucking slide them. Like, people are going to be like, why the fuck did I buy this? And this console, I gotta buy like a $400 or $500 console just to experience this shit the best that I possibly could. And it's I just really believe that, like, when next gen come out, we're gonna be blown away. I know we're gonna be blown away because these developers are making things look really, really fucking good off of like 1.3 and 1.8 teraflops. You know what I mean? Could you imagine if the shit's like 15 teraflops with like 32 gigabytes of memory? Or even 16 gigabytes. I don't think it's gonna be 16. I think it's probably gonna be like 20 or some shit like that. Could you really imagine? Could you imagine what they will be able to do? You know what I mean? A lot of the issues is bottlenecked by memory, but fuck, man, like, if anybody's, kidding themselves with next generation not looking, not looking nice, and just going to be like an upscale version of the games that we currently have, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I know there's, I think Porter Rock and Foxy Gamer UK. He's like, they're both YouTube gamers or YouTube streamers. And they basically were stating that same thing. Like, we're not going to expect like too much of a, of a difference, except for clear graphics and stuff like that. And it's like, oh hell no! Like, you gotta understand, it's going to be about like 7 years before we get another console. And even with the Pro and the Xbox One X, like, they're not utilizing those consoles. They're not. These consoles, the Pro, could do a hell of a lot more. You know what I mean? And it's just a shame that people really believe that that's all these consoles are going to get. You know what I mean? But yeah, we're coming to close to the end of the video. But what I wanted to talk about here before we go is, like I said, AMD definitely. I don't know why this shit ain't loading. Damn. Next time I'm gonna prepare myself better. Yeah, you need 7.4 teraflops to work. Now I know there's a lot of gamers are talking about something. There's a lot of games on the Xbox One X that's actually 4K. Well, here's the thing. It's dynamic as fuck. You know what I'm saying? It's usually bottoms out at 1800p, and that's one of the reasons because of the memory that they have. So yeah, they got a certain amount of memory that they have to work with, and they what I mean. They can fit that whole frame buffer into there, along with the CPU or the GPU being more powerful. But let's say if you had a 7.4 teraflop system, none of it, like I say it again, these consoles are not being utilized. So it's just very funny that people really truthfully believe that it's being utilized. It's not. I'm sorry to tell you. It's very brute force what they're doing. It's brute force. It's the best that they can do, and they don't want to put that much effort in. Now, when I first, when I was trying to get the Pro, when I was looking at the Pro, I was like, I mean, what's to say that these developers, excuse me, I know it's just probably blew out your ears. What's to say that these developers are like being lazy? Not lazy, but like, that's extra work that they have to do to try to make these games look pretty on these consoles for this really niche, demographic. So no, they're not being utilized. All in all, what I will say is that be prepared when the PS5 and the Xbox come out to be blown away. We're talking about simulations with, You know, like the whole cloud systems and weather systems and shit that is being, you can break it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Destructibility. Be prepared for that shit. Be prepared for a lot of enemies on screen. Be prepared for a lot of enemies you can't get away from them. Complex, you know, AI routines and stuff like that. Global illumination, if you don't know what that is, like the lighting in the game, is going to be super, super nice. All that shit is going to really happen. All that shit is going to happen next generation, and we're going to be really surprised. But we're going to leave it right there. Let me know in the comments what you think about the video. Let me know what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. And until next time.